This is a Gear Network production.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Mr. Perez, and you're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast, brought to you exclusively on Gear Network. Listen in.
How's it going, friends? Episode 78 of the Better Live Than Dead podcast starts right now.
Episode 7-8.
I am Ryan Wolf at Wolf BLTD on Twitter, joined always by most of the time, I would say 85 to 90% of the time, by Mr. Perez at MRLG Perez.
What's up, peoples?
How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good, man. You know what? I just got done with dinner. I was sitting outside the restaurant where we were at, and we were on Monroe Avenue. We went to Jeremiah's. I was sitting here, and I texted you to let you know I was ready. And while I was waiting for you to respond, about 6 fire trucks, a bunch of cops, a couple ambulances, and what looked to be like a SWAT truck just passed me and turned down one of the roads. And as I'm sitting here, there's a fire truck with its lights on, driving up and down the road slowly as if the fire truck's looking for someone.
Yeah, that's super weird.
It's very odd. Very odd.
That's
So
the kind of
I don't know
stuff.
what's going on.
That's the kind of stuff you see in Rochester, though. You know.
Yeah, but this is a little more than normal. This was
Little
honestly
more,
a couple
little
different. Yeah, it's honestly a couple different firehouses that showed up. You know, and I'm sitting here, I don't really see smoke, or I don't smell smoke, or so I don't know what's going on, but it got quite a response, whatever it is.
Yeah, long story short, somebody goofed. Somebody goofed hard.
They're all down on this one street. Like Monroe Avenue was blocked off for about 10 minutes, but it's now open, and I'm driving by the street that they all turned down, and they're all down like at the end of the street at an intersecting street. And I just got to the next street, and they're all down there, and here comes 2 more cops.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You're about to be a BLTD correspondent live on the scene, about to break some news or something.
That's right. I know, right?
We're always where the news is. That's what we do.
Oh, wait,
I heard that.
This is, I don't know what this is. Is that a paddy wagon? Dude, I think that was a paddy wagon.
Yo, are they like, maybe there's like a gigantic. You know what I should do? I should pop up. Hold on. I'm gonna do this. We're gonna do this live. We're gonna do some. No, we're gonna do some CSI work here on the podcast, man. Before we get started with
I'm
sports,
tempted to turn around and drive by again.
go for it, because I'm about to turn on the live audio scanner and see what happens here.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're like 2 old women, because I know a lot of old women like to sit around and or old people, not even just women, but old men and old women like to sit around and listen to the
Scanners.
Listen to scanners. But let's do this. Let's do this right now. I know my mom does, so if you hear that, she'll get offended. But I apologize, Mom. But when she does homework, she'll turn it on. She'll just turn it on to give herself some background noise. But let's see here.
Well, I don't know. This one's interesting, dude, because there's a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm pretty sure a paddy wagon just drove by me, so that must mean a lot of people are about to get arrested.
I want to play.
You don't send a paddy wagon if you got like 1 or 2 people acting up.
Exactly.
But it's in a very interesting area. Like, you don't, like, as much as I'm on Monroe Avenue, you don't see that type of stuff down there.
Excuse me.
It's a very bougie neighborhood.
I don't know what that means.
It's not like Park Avenue bougie, but it's still pretty bougie.
I don't know what bougie means.
What? Okay, so now the dude behind me just turned his headlights off, but he's still following me. That's very weird.
You're about to go to prison.
No, it's not even a cop car. But he very clearly turned his lights off. And it's 10:38 at night. You kind of need your nights. If I say to you, I got to jump out of the car real quick, that's why. That's different. He's like tailing me. He's right on my bumper, really.
This is odd, man. This is really weird. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
We find out Perez is going to have to stab someone tonight.
Just don't do it on the podcast because then I have to be a witness and fill out all the paperwork. And it's already been a day. So, here we go. I think I've got something. Oh,
What do you got?
what I thought I had is not there.
Okay.
This one here says Monroe Ave 1444. That's not what I'm looking. That's too early. I just keep seeing dangerous condition around that area, but that's really it. There's nothing.
I wonder what a dangerous condition means.
Dangerous condition. Duh.
Yeah, but I mean,
like stay the hell away from here.
Like dangerous weather-wise, accident.
Yeah. Speaking of weather, man,
sure.
it was nice. It's nice of the winter to show up.
Yeah, man. We knew it was going to come eventually.
Yeah, but if it's only for
area.
a couple days though, it's not going to be bad. I mean, they're saying by right now it's Wednesday night, 10:39 p.m. on February 10th, just for those trying to keep track of us. But they said by Thursday night we're supposed to have like up to 15 inches of snow. Which, I mean, if it's we'll get 15 inches of snow and then it's going to be beautiful again.
Okay, so I just drove by the Eastman School of Music. Because Monroe Avenue turns to the north, and I take north all the way home. So I just drove by Eastman School of Music, and they have the dormitory right there. There's 2 fire trucks and 3 cops out there. There's some crazy stuff going on in this city tonight, and I'm seeing it all.
I see that, man. It's like Taxi Cab Confessions, but you're just driving around catching people.
Right, and not having sex in my own car.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, maybe you and your wife, you guys can do that on your own time, just not when the podcast is happening, please.
Yeah, no one wants to hear that.
We try to keep it as PG-13 as possible here.
I understand. Yeah, maybe some people do want to hear that. I don't know, but I'm sure you don't.
What's up?
I said no one wants to hear that. But then I said I'm sure maybe some people do, but I said I'm sure you don't want to hear it.
It wasn't really on my list of things to do today.
I understand that. So this car with his lights off is still behind me.
Still with his lights off?
Still with his lights off.
That is weird as hell.
Very weird. Very weird. The last time I had a car follow me and turn its headlights off was many, many moons ago, and I had Hobie in the car with me, and the car that turned its lights off, I pulled up to a red light. The car turned his brights on and accelerated right to the back of my truck. On purpose.
What the hell?
Yeah, dude. It was quite a while ago. And then he drove away. Not really sure how he drove away, because I had a GMC Jimmy at the time with a spare tire on the back, and I watched his hood collapse, and I watched his windshield shatter, and I pulled across the street, and he took off.
What the hell?
Okay, so impromptu story time with Perez.
It's been a while.
That has been a while. So, hold on a second. Taking a puff of my cigar.
We got to give it the
All
intro.
right, so,
We got to give it the intro.
right. So, back in the day, there was a guy in Rochester, also named Lewis, which, by the way, if you're Puerto Rican, that's not really a rare occurrence. Lewis is a very popular Puerto Rican name. But this guy happened to look exactly like me. And I'm not talking about, like, there was a resemblance, like, from a distance, you might be like, hey, is that Lewis? No. I'm talking about this guy looked exactly like me. Same height, same build, same hairstyle. And I only know this because he walked into the store I worked at. At the time, I was working at Pacific Sunwear in Marketplace Mall, Pac Sun. And he walked in. I was on the phone with my sister, who at the time worked for Lids in Irondequoit Mall. So this is how long ago this was. Irondequoit Mall was still open. So he walked in, and I said to my sister, I'll call you right back, and hung up the phone. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I was like, yo. And he turned around and literally sprinted away. I'm not talking about like he walked away. Like he literally ran away. And I ran out to the hallway, but I couldn't leave the store because I was the only person. I was the manager, and we had just opened. I was the assistant manager, and we had just opened, so I couldn't just leave the store. So I called my sister back, and I was like, yo, weirdest thing ever. This guy just walked into the store, and he looked exactly like me. Now, everyone says you have a twin in this world. And I truly believe that. You see plenty of pictures of people who look a lot alike. But this dude was my doppelganger. So, over the course of the next, 2 to 3 years, people I knew started seeing this guy and thinking it was me. My sister had some friends who once said to her, your brother is an a-hole. And she was like, what are you talking about? And my brother's mad cool. And they're like, no, we ran into your brother last night at the movies, and we said hi to him, and he was, super rude to us and called us some names. With that story, she was like, that's interesting because my brother's in Chicago right now. Which I was. So, then one day my sister texts me, and she says to me, hey, where are you right now? And I was like, I'm at work. And Henrietta, why, what's up? And she was like, because I just saw you in Greece. So my sister even saw this dude, and he looked so much like me. My sister was like, yo, he looks just like Lewis. But here's the thing. His name is Lewis. So you say, hey, Lewis, he's obviously going to respond. Another time, Hobie and Bree saw him at, Gitsy's. Now, here's the funny part. I used to go to Gitsy's all the time after the clubs when I was bouncing, and the Gitsy's owner was always, mad cool with me. Discounts and, not charging me full price for my stuff. And, granted, we were in there quite a bit, but, not enough to where they're just throwing you discounts and stuff. Well, sometimes. I've had stores do that. But, so then, Hobie and Bree saw him at Gitsy's. So then I was like, I wonder if they're so nice to me because he's there all the time. I wonder if they think we just live in Gitsy's. I'm there all the time. because I had other people say they saw me at Gitsy's when I wasn't there. I've had mad people see this dude. I had a friend who was a temp agent who had him come in and look at a job. And the guy acted like he didn't know her. And I was real good friends with this girl. And this guy acted like he didn't know her. And so she didn't say anything to him, thinking that, because I was there, well, it wasn't me, but because she thought because I was there looking for a job, I was just trying to be professional. And so she called me up, and she was like, hey, I got a couple jobs that you might be interested in. And I was like, I have a job. What are you talking about? And she was like, you were in my office today, and I went and found a couple jobs for you because it was you. And I was like, no, I wasn't in your office today. Like, sorry. So come to find out, this dude, and I saw him 2 more times, and he never talked to me. So come to find out, this dude was a drug dealer, okay?
Oh.
I had a red GMC Jimmy. He had a red Chevy Blazer. At one point, I had a white Honda. He had a white Toyota.
You guys are so cute.
I had another car, and he had the exact opposite, but the same color. Dude, it was really, really weird. And so the reason we got rear-ended, I think, was because they thought I was him. And we were over, on, Avenue D, and so, I think they thought I was the other Lewis, the drug dealer guy.
That's possible. That's very possible.
Which is why I think I got rear-ended. But
now it's my turn first. It's my turn for a story. And it's not even really a story. It's just a conversation because, like I said, we don't have a lot to talk about in sports this afternoon. So we'll get a little life in the podcast this week.
All right. Hold on a second, real quick. Let me finish this real quick.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
No, sorry. I had some people tell me that they thought my doppelganger worked at Show World for a while, which to you in listener land, it's a porn shop.
That sounds like you.
Yeah, right. They were like, yeah, dude, he looks just like you working at Show World. So I went to Show World to see if it was him. And this dude looked nothing like me.
I'm sure that was the excuse to go there.
Yeah, well, actually, at that time it was. I've been there before, but he had a shaved head. That was the resemblance, bro. that was the entire resemblance. The next, and then someone, after I went, someone was like, oh, yeah, you look good. I was like, you're an idiot. He and I shave our heads, the end. But anyway, I'm sorry. That's the end.
You're okay.
Now.
You're okay. No, I just wanted to mention today, it's my day off. It's like I said, it's 10 to 11 on Wednesday. And this is really the first time. It's the first time tonight that I've actually relaxed. Now, I woke up, saw a friend of mine, someone I'm going to go probably get an apartment with here in the next month or two. So I talked with her and figured things out, and figuring some things out. And then I went and saw our good buddy, friend of the podcast, Dan Ross over at Artisan Tattoo. Spent about 3 hours at the shop on Lake Ave, I think it was, is where the road is.
Yep.
Lake and Stutson, corner of Lake and Stutson, and he did a really nice bicep piece for me where it's a creepy cemetery. I've just got the foreground and a tree. I'm going to go back on March 2nd. He's going to finish it up. It's good. I got a good deal. I mean, he takes care of his customers. You get good work for a relatively decent price. I mean, the problem with tattoos around here is people want to spend $50, and when they get their tattoo, they're like, "Oh, my tattoo looks like crap." It's like, well, you paid $50, but I'm going to pay probably $550 and get from my elbow to my armpit tattooed in great detail. And people tell me that's too much money, and I'm like, well, then you don't want good art. I mean, I'm a fan of art. And if I can put art on my body and it looks good, you're goddamn right I'm going to do it. And it's been a while since I've gotten a brand new tattoo, like a brand new piece. Because I got a small tattoo on my wrist. My brother, sister, and myself got a small lightning bolt, which is the Against Me logo. And
right.
But it's been a while since I've gotten a piece done. So last month I went and got my forearm redone, which, again, if you're looking to get a tattoo, give Dan Ross a call. Hit him up on Facebook. I'm pretty sure it's facebook.com/artisan tattoo. But let me just double check as I'm talking. But it's free lifetime touch-ups and redo. So I got the redo done for just the amount of money I gave him for a tip. I mean, it's facebook.com/art2zen tattoos. And you can hit him up there, check out some stuff. And they all do. He does great work. And not only him, but everyone else at the shop does great work. There are a couple.
Yeah, but Dan is really good.
Oh, he's absolutely fantastic. Like, he does just phenomenal work. And he's great people, too. I mean, I'm not just saying this because I know the guy, but, like, I see how he deals with my friends who he has no idea who they are. And he's just a fantastic person to them. I mean, he's just great people. But I went there, like I said, got the tattoo done. Then I went and saw another friend of the podcast, our buddy Chris Pogue over at Dapper's Not Dead, and I went and bought some pomade, some of his Dapper's Not Dead pomade, the stuff he made himself, because I got a haircut, and I'm feeling pretty dapper these days. So I've been putting my hair up a lot, and I'm running out of pomade, so I need to get some more. So I went over and dropped $10. He's still got a couple jars left. If you're looking to get some pomade, you go check him out. I believe
I got a haircut too.
I saw that you look older. You cut all your hair off, man. But then I came home, hopped in the shower quick, washed off my tattoo because I had blood everywhere. Dropped one of our Better Live Than Dead shirts off to one of my friends, and then went and had pizza for dinner, and then came home and finally got a chance to relax. And now I'm here. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here. Happy to talk some sports. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of sports to talk, but we're here. We're live. We're Better Live Than Dead. Mom and Dad bought pizza because they're watching the kids this week. Mom's watching the kids this week because Eric and Jess are out of town. So,
right.
They bought pizza. I was there. Not mad about it.
Hey, did they go out of town by themselves?
Yeah, just Eric and Jessica did.
I'm just curious because I saw Eric posting pictures of today of him with Thomas.
Probably just randomly posting photos of him and Thomas, which is what he always does.
Yeah, because I was confused. I was like, I thought they went out of town for their anniversary.
Yeah, they went out and hung out with Brian Clem of the Suburban Legends, who were trying to get on the podcast here. They went and saw Suburban Legends, who are on their current. It's like it's not really a farewell tour, but they're going away for a while. They're not going to tour for a while, but they're going to still make music apparently. But yeah, they're going to go away for a bit. They saw Real Big Fish, the Maxies, Suburban Legends. I missed them in Buffalo because I had to work, unfortunately. But yeah, Brian Clem is also good people. A lot of good people. I like to surround myself with a large amount of good people. But I want to start with some sports talk here. Real fast. We're just going to start off in the NBA. The New York Knicks finally pull the trigger and fire head coach Derek Fisher. Now, a lot of people think Tom Thibodeau may be coming to New York to coach the Knicks, but the Knicks it doesn't really seem like they have a direction right now. I mean, they've got a couple good players, but it's just you're not really sure where they're going right now. And maybe Tom Thibodeau can come in and be that guy for Phil Jackson and the Knicks, but I don't know what they're doing in New York, man.
Yeah, New York doesn't know what they're doing in New York.
That's fair.
I kind of feel bad for Phil because I feel like Phil's putting all the pieces together. Like you said, they got some really good young players. They got some excellent talent. They just don't seem to be able to play together. You know, and the coach is always the scapegoat.
They always just seem like they get the wrong group of guys together.
Right. And, you know, they got that new, that rookie, that tall white guy. He's going to be really good.
Kristaps Porzingis from Latvia.
Yeah, him.
I believe that's how I pronounce his name.
He's going to be excellent. You know, so they put together some nice pieces. We'll just see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not I'm not huge into basketball, but I keep an eye on it. But yeah, it's just you wonder what the hell they're doing, because they haven't been able to get over the hump and get themselves into the playoffs and make a deep run for a while. And that's really all New York wants, is another NBA championship. And there's also rumors that because Derek Fisher was fired, Kevin Durant may not be looking at New York as a landing spot now, because obviously he wanted to play for Derek Fisher. But I mean, I think Kevin Durant is either Oklahoma City or Washington, because Washington's his home state and he's played in Oklahoma forever. But I mean, that's something where we'll see down the road for sure what happens. But for now, it's one of those two places.
They'll make that Washington team a very good team.
Well, between him and John Wall, I mean, that just alone, I mean, they have Bradley Beal as well. I mean, they're a good team they're a good team without Kevin Durant, but they're a great team with Kevin Durant for sure.
I agree.
Moving over to the National Hockey League.
That's my knock in Oklahoma.
I'm bad. You know what? I got to say something real quick. I'm rusty because the past couple weeks I used to be so good at anticipating the sport changes, and I just been terrible at it. I apologize.
It's all good. That's they got Kevin Durant, they got Russell Westbrook, two of the best players in the league, but they're just not deep other than that.
I think. Hold on a second. I had to grab a beer out of the fridge. Let me just pop this guy open real quick. Oops. Did not want to do that, but I did it. Just dropped the bottle open on the floor.
Awesome.
Damn it. Well, it's been a minute since I've had beers. So I decided maybe just damn it. This bottle opener is a pain in my balls, man. Sam Adams, Boston Lager.
That's good, bro.
Big fan of it, And they didn't have a big. They usually you can get like a $3 big bottle at Wegmans. It's like 2.5 beers, but they didn't have it, so I just bought a 6-pack. I'm slowly drinking all of them, but I don't want to get fat by drinking beers. So I don't drink a lot very often, but it's been a while since I had I've had a couple beers here and there in the past couple weeks, just because I'm feeling more comfortable with myself. But it's okay. My brain is getting back to a good spot. I'm far from being okay, like great, but I'm getting back to a good spot, which is good news. But
I got some news for you.
What's up?
1 or 2 beers ain't gonna make you fat overnight.
If I drink 5 of them in a night, I'm sure I'll feel great tomorrow. But,
well, you might be a little, tipsy.
Oh, I'm 4 beers in right now, and I'm not feeling anything. I mean, the alcohol content is like 4.9%. I mean, I don't drink much ever, but even these beers aren't hitting me at all. So,
that's good.
Moving over to the National Hockey League now, 2 big stories to talk about this week. First off, the Winnipeg Jets re-signed defenseman Dustin Byfuglien to a 5-year. I think it was $5.38 he got. This season, 53 games, he has 33 points, 15 goals, 18 assists, 377 points in 650 career games. He's been kind of the anchor on that Jets defense. But this is a big deal because it was Dustin Byfuglien and Captain Andrew Ladd, who were both UFAs heading into this season. And if you figured if one of them gets re-signed, the other one's probably going to get traded, and it looks like, it honestly looks like Andrew Ladd's going to be the guy to get dealt now, because they can't let him walk for nothing, and there are teams out there who need a guy like Andrew Ladd. Like, the one team that pops into my head every time is Florida. The Florida Panthers could absolutely positively use a guy like oh, what the hell? What's his name? I just lost my train of thought. Like Andrew Ladd. Sorry, they could use a guy like Andrew Ladd, and that could really help the bottom 6 and the leadership on that franchise with a lot of young kids playing in the playoffs for the first time. And Winnipeg may be willing to deal. I mean, we'll have to see. It's the 10th now. There's 19 days until the trade deadline, but and we will have full coverage of the NHL trade deadline at BLTDsports.com. I'll be at the arena at the First Niagara Center. Day of the deadline, doing some live coverage, so stay tuned for that. But it's certainly one of those things where you want to keep an eye on it, and pay attention to what Andrew Ladd does, because I don't think Winnipeg is going to keep him.
That'll be a good time at the Niagara Center.
First Niagara Center is always fantastic on the deadline, because I get to sit around and watch TSN or Sportsnet while the actual writers do their jobs, and I just sit and watch Twitter with my friends.
Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so here we go. The other big deal of the week: the Ottawa Senators acquire Jan Phaneuf from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Captain Maple Leafs captain Dion Phaneuf, Matt Fratton, Casey Bailey, Ryan Rupert, and Cody Donaghy head to the Ottawa Senators going back the other way. Jared Cowan, Colin Greening, Milan Mikhailiuk, and Tobias Lindberg, and the Senators' second-round pick in 2017. It says here it's essentially just a cap space move for Toronto. Cowan will be a free RFA in 2017, but he possesses a very cap-friendly contract that could be bought out and should be bought out in June. Meanwhile, Greening and Mikhailiuk are UFAs in 2017. It looks like Toronto is lining themselves up for a very big offseason, an offseason which Toronto native Steven Stamkos of the Tampa Bay Lightning is heading into free agency. So we'll see what happens there. For Ottawa, they get Phaneuf. He's 30, signed through 2021 with a $7 million cap hit. He no longer has to be that number one guy, with Erik Karlsson being that number one guy. But still, it's something where, Phaneuf can help out Ottawa and make Ottawa better. But just a weird time to see a deal like that happen.
It does seem like a weird time, but I don't, you got to do what you can to help your team at any point. So, I get it.
Absolutely. I'm reading here right now. I just saw something pop up on my internet screen. I want to mention this here. Two things. First off, Yahoo Sports loads slow as hell, so that's positive. It looks like Brian Vickers will replace Tony Stewart at Daytona. It says here Vickers, as long as he can pass medical exams, because he's missed a lot of time with blood clots, as long as he can pass a medical exam, he will be named the driver for Tony Stewart's number 14 Stewart House Racing Chevy, I think it is.
Very cool.
For at least Daytona. It may be further, but just Daytona. Also, here's a fun thing for you. Reported by, brought to my attention by the Ball Don't Lie blog over at yahoosports.com. I'm just going to load down and I'm going to read this here real quick. ESPN's Brian Windhorst dropped a what-if bombshell. This is an exact quote from the blog. In the summer of 2007, the Lakers called the Cleveland Cavaliers and asked them if trading Kobe to the Cavaliers could get them LeBron James.
Come on.
That's crazy.
That doesn't even make any sense.
The report here says, quote, at the time the Lakers had to do something. I was just losing faith in what they were trying to do. I was like a meal ticket. Kobe Bryant told Baxter Holmes this week, ESPN's Baxter Holmes this week, you come out and you score 40, 50 points, fill the seats. We're going to keep the payroll at a minimum, generate revenue. It's like, look, listen, hold on. I'm not, oh, sorry. If you talk, I can't hear you because I'm just muting this. So I'm going to continue to read it and then I'll unmute it here. We're going to generate revenue. It's like, look, listen, I'm not with that dude. I have to win without Shaq. I've got to do it. We've got to do something. According to multiple sources, as the Lakers went through their options, the call was placed to the Cavs. The intent of the call, sources said, was clear. Would the Cavs make James available for a potential deal for Bryant? It says here, it was the only time the team had ever called and made an offer for James. He was considered an ultimate untouchable. Frankly, until that time, so was Bryant. The Cavs said that James Indeed was untouchable. They attempted to make the Lakers a different offer for Bryant, offering anyone else in their team in a package, but the Lakers had no interest. Lakers GM Mitch Kupchak declined comment this week. And for Bryant, who had a no-trade clause in his contract, the answer was simple. Quote, I never would have approved it. Never. The trade was to go to Cleveland? Never. That wasn't one of my teams on my list. It was Chicago, San Antonio, or Phoenix.
Huh.
So I guess that's a fun report to chew on, but obviously it was going nowhere.
Right.
Moving over to
Kobe
Major
doesn't want to be traded. Kobe doesn't want to be traded. He's not going to be traded.
Rumors are fun, though. Rumors are a lot of fun.
They can be, that's for sure.
Moving over to Major League Baseball now, a couple quick notes. Arizona signs relief pitcher Tyler Clippard, formerly of the New York Mets. Chicago signs pitcher Matt Latos, formerly of the Dodgers and Reds. And it looks like after last season where we saw a couple suicide slides, that Major League Baseball is going to change the rules about sliding into second base and taking out the second baseman. It says here, Buster, I'm reading directly off of SBNation.com right here. It says, everyone will get used to them. There will be a few mangled knees and ankles. Buster only has some details. It looks like there won't be wholesale changes to the rules about sliding into second. There will be changes, though, and they're likely to come before the 2016 season. They won't prevent a runner from sliding into second base to break up a double play, but they'll prevent a runner from targeting a middle infielder to break up a double play, which obviously there is a big difference. We've seen guys running directly into players. We saw Mets shortstop Wilmer Flores have his leg broken. We saw shortstop for Pittsburgh have his knee blown out midway through last season. So clearly, stuff needs to change, and get it right the first time, so you don't have to do it again. Because you know what? Players taking out other players to try to break up a double play, it's part of baseball, yes, but it's just dirty, and it needs to stop.
Well, I don't agree with you. I think there needs to be a change to it so it minimizes injuries, but that's part of the excitement of baseball.
Well, here's the deal. Like I said, there's a difference between just sliding in a second and breaking up and physically going out of your way to try to injure the guy.
Right. No, I agree. That needs to stop. You don't want to physically injure the guy on purpose.
Like going back to Chase Utley's slide of Wilmer Flores in the playoffs. That was intent to injure.
Right.
That stuff needs to be out of the game.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Now I want to move over to UFC real quick. Because at the start of the week, we got news that CM Punk was going to, there was a fight night, which I have to get the results up here. But we had a fight night, and CM Punk's opponent, Mickey Gall, won his fight, so therefore it was going to be CM Punk versus Mickey Gall. But before we go over those results, let me get to the news that just broke. CM Punk has a herniated disc in his back, and he will have surgery, so his UFC debut has been pushed indefinitely. And, I mean, at this point, Lewis, do we ever see CM Punk in the octagon?
You hope so, but he keeps having these nagging injuries, so who knows? Hopefully this surgery will correct the issue, and we'll be able to see him.
And let me get the exact quote.
Even if you get to see him once, that would be a major draw.
It would be fantastic, yeah. I'm just getting the article popped up here so I can get the exact quotes from a one CM Punk. But, it says he'll undergo back surgery, officially pushed back Wednesday. He'll undergo back surgery. Herniated disc, which he attributed to his wrestling days. Quote, my back has always bugged me. Figured it was just wrestling shit. Turns out it was. It got bad enough to the point where I couldn't do anything. The week before I went to train with the Devils last month. One day I could manage, the next day I couldn't. I've been in agony almost a month. Chiropractor, acupuncture, massage, cryotherapy, nothing worked. So clearly, I mean, it's wrestling catching back up to him. But we'll see what happens there. But Punk is not bothered by it. I mean, the recovery is going to be 4 to 6 weeks, so maybe he'll get pushed back later this year because he was supposed to fight at UFC 199, but that obviously won't happen now. But Punk says, quote, "This is just a bump in the road. I'm positive about this. I hope we see CM Punk in the octagon at least once, because even Dana White said if Punk gets beat up, it's his choice whether he wants to fight again or not." And
right.
I mean, maybe we'll see him again, but I'm not really sure if even if he wins, it may just be a one and done type of deal. But the one big story out of the UFC Fight Night 82 is the Johnny Hendricks fight with Stephen Thompson. Stephen Thompson defeated Johnny Hendricks in the first round, 331 of the first round to be exact. And it looks like Johnny Hendricks falls down the rankings just a little, but Stephen Thompson just absolutely shoots up the welterweight rankings. I mean, I'm going to look up the rankings right now just to give you an idea of how crazy things changed. I mean, Johnny Hendricks was one of the top contenders. I think Hendricks was ranked 8th, and I'm just waiting for the page to load here. My computer is actually cooperating very well tonight.
That's good.
That's a shocking change here. We'll get to that in just a second. Johnny Hendricks falls to 5. Stephen Thompson moves up to 3. So right now, Robbie Lawler's the welterweight champion. Rory McDonald's 1. Tyron Woodley 2. Stephen Thompson 3. Carlos Condit 4. And rounding out the top 5, Johnny Hendricks 5. Now I think Johnny Hendricks gets another shot at that title, at Robbie Lawler's title. But some point in time in the future, it's gonna be something where, you know, he really has to put a good fight together and figure it out, because he's struggled since he had that severe weight cut that almost killed him, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And, he's just been kind of up and down. I mean, he won the title, tore his bicep, lost the title, and it's just been kind of meh ever since. But the one thing I wanted to point out here that I just noticed, and this may have changed a little while ago, but John Jones is back to being the number 1 pound-for-pound best fighter in the world.
Already,
and he's not even fought a fight yet. It's John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, who's the flyweight champion, Conor McGregor, who's the featherweight champion, going for the lightweight title. I assume if McGregor wins, he might move up to 1, but John Jones fights in April, and John Jones is looking ready to fight and ready to get his title back, so we'll see what happens there. Rafael Dos Anjos is 4. Fabricio Verdum is 5. Those are the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world.
It's still amazing that he's like back to number 1, and like you said, like he hasn't even fought yet.
That's a scare factor, man. I mean, that's just that. But one thing I want to point out too is that MMA is. I know we've said this a couple times before in the podcast, Lewis, and I know we're beating a dead horse here, but mixed martial arts, it's looking like this year could potentially be the year that mixed martial arts are legalized in New York. It's looking good right now. It can fall apart because last year it looked good and it fell apart. So I know it's lip service at this point, but be legalized in the state of New York.
That'd be awesome. That would be absolutely awesome.
And it's not even the fact of the mixed martial arts being bad. It's the fact that the people wanted to make sure there was some sort of safety net in place if a fighter gets critically injured or has a brain injury or a spinal cord injury, that they can take care of the fighter, and it's not just tough titty, you're on your own, man. It's something
right.
that they can provide help and take care of fighters if someone gets injured, wherever it may be. But that would be huge for the state if they could get mixed martial arts legalized, because you'll have fights in New York City a couple times a year. You can get a couple fights in Buffalo at the First Niagara Center. It may not be a pay-per-view. It may be like a UFC fight night. But still, I mean, maybe they get a pay-per-view in Buffalo just because you got Buffalo. You got John Jones from the Buffalo area, essentially, because he's from Western New York, obviously. But excuse me. You also have that Canadian crowd, too, that you can pull down from Canada, and you'd sell that place out super quick.
Exactly. That's a true story. That would be a good payday.
Now, moving over to the WWE. Sad news this week from the WWE. as fan favorite and longtime injured wrestler at this point, Daniel Bryan, legit announced his retirement from the World Wrestling Entertainment, in the wrestling world, not just WWE, but the wrestling world. Behind the scenes, Bryan had asked for his release a few times. Apparently, he had contracts with New Japan and Ring of Honor ready to go. He was going to wrestle a full independent schedule. And then there was a test in January that proved that Bryan's brain was actually not as good as he thought it was. He's having some issues with seizures after concussions, something he hid, but he's very upfront with it now. And the career of Daniel Bryan, unfortunately, brought to a close way too soon. But you can't mess around with concussions, and I'm glad that he has realized he has an issue and he needs to take time off and get better for himself and for his family. We'll never see him wrestle again, I don't think, but you may see him pop up in some appearances, because apparently what happened too is that there's a nice payday from the WWE to retire. So apparently, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to pay out the rest of his contract if he retired with the Fed. So that's at least cool. That's very cool.
I wonder how much his contract was.
I could be wrong, but I mean, getting paid the rest of your contract is pretty important. It's a pretty big deal.
I agree with you.
But we wish Daniel Bryan the best in his future. Hopefully a healthy future, because wrestling's not going to be the same without him, because he was just a fantastic worker. The crowd got behind him. I mean, his retirement speech on Raw on Monday was fantastic. Very emotional. But I hope we haven't seen the last of him. I know Edge makes a couple appearances every year or two. I hope we get some appearances from Daniel Bryan too, where he can get involved in something and kind of get back into wrestling on behind the scenes or in a gimmick role, because wrestling's just not the same without him around.
Yeah, I feel bad for him, but he was one of those underdog type wrestlers that the fans really got behind, and hopefully, like you said, we'll see him in some type of other capacity. You never know. That would be nice. He was cool people, it seemed like.
Oh yeah, and not to mention he's like you said, a ton of fun to watch, for sure.
He really was. He was one of those wrestlers that you could tell enjoyed what they did,
He was in it for the wrestling. He wasn't in it for the money. He wasn't in it for the fame. He was in it because he loved to wrestle.
Right.
That's why I think it took him so long to say, no, I can't do this anymore.
I agree with you. Especially if he had contracts ready to go with, New Japan and Ring of Honor.
Yeah, he wasn't messing. He really did want to wrestle. It let him. Rightfully so, because it's such a liability, but it's like I said, it sucks. It's unfortunate for sure.
It is.
I'm moving over to the National for a few weeks at least. We're going to talk about the National Football League. First off, we're going to start with the class of 2016. Brett Favre, Packers quarterback, leads the class into the Hall of Fame. You've got Marvin Harrison, Tony Dungy, Kevin Green, Orlando Pace, Eddie DiBartolo, Kenny Stabler, and Dick Stanfill. Now, the crazy thing about Brett Favre, from what I gathered on the tweet bots, is it took 6 seconds for the Hall of Fame voters to say yes to Brett Favre. That is absolutely fantastic. It's a no-brainer, but the fact that it took legit 6 seconds is crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. That's not a lot of time. They were like, Brett Favre, yes. You're right.
Now, a couple big names were left out, but I'm waiting to get those names popped up here. I'm also trying to get a list of winners of the NFL awards, but my searching abilities are just not very good right now, apparently.
Well, I know T.O. was left off the ballot.
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But I'm trying to get the award winners here and the Hall of Fame people that were left out, that were snubbed, because there were a couple big names that are getting closer and closer and closer, but just can't crack that door yet. But I say my computer's running great and it starts to slow down. The 2016
works,
Pro,
right?
Yeah, the 2016 Pro Football Hall of Fame ballot. Let's see here. Wait for my computer to load. Final ballot was Morton. The people who didn't make it in were Morton Anderson, a kicker, who was arguably one of the greatest kickers in the history of the game. He'll be in the Hall of Fame sometime soon. Steve Atwater, a defensive back for 10 years. I think he'll make it in at some point in time. Don Coryell, absolutely. Terrell Davis, his statistics don't jump off the map, but I mean, he only played from 95 to 2001 and racked up 7,000 yards rushing, 1,200 yards receiving. He won 2 Super Bowl rings with the Denver Broncos. He's in the final 15. He's going to make it at some point in time. Alan Faneca, guard, I think, he was one of the best when he played. No doubt about that one. He'll be in. Joe Jacoby, I mean, everybody, let's just put it this way. Everybody in the final 15 at some point in time, I think, makes it to the Hall of Fame. So I don't have to keep reiterating it. Joe Jacoby, a tackle. Edgerrin James, running back. 12,000 yards in his career. He'll be a Hall of Famer, like I said. John Lynch, hands down, absolutely. Terrell Owens, one of the greatest, if not the greatest wide receivers we've ever seen. Apparently, it was his first year on the ballot, but apparently what happened is his character, his style of play, the people, apparently the voters saw that, he played on like 4 teams in the last 6 years. People didn't want him, and they knocked him for that because, he's not a team player. He's for himself first, and he's just really just an asshole. I mean, I don't know how he is off the field, but on the field he was an asshole, and that usually works against them. So it's something where, for the rest of his life, Terrell Owens will not be known as a first ballot Hall of Famer, and that to a guy like T.O. may be the world. So, I'm assuming next year he gets in because, it's something where you look at it and it's, you just wonder how can they overlook him again? I mean, they can't. I don't think, at least. But the last name on the list, a surefire Hall of Famer in my eyes, Kurt Warner.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get in this time around.
I mean, there's still it's something where they may not have enough behind it, but I think in the coming up very soon, he'll be a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that. Kurt Warner's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I agree. I think he will be also.
He's got a fantastic story. He was part of the greatest show on turf. I mean, it's just absolutely he was a great player when he played. The story's great. Like I said, played for the Rams, almost won a Super Bowl with the Cardinals. He belongs.
To think that he went from bagging groceries, to winning a Super Bowl.
Bagging groceries to arena football to winning a Super Bowl. I mean, just mind-blowing. I'm just looking through 2017 football eligibles for the Hall of Fame. Brian Dawkins is eligible. He's likely a Hall of Famer. Bob Sanders, remember him? He was a fantastic player when he was when healthy. But Donovan McNabb is eligible next year. Derek Mason, Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, Hines Ward, Jake Delhomme, Jason Taylor, Jeremy Shockey, Joey Porter.
That's a lot of names, dude. That's a lot of big names.
Yeah, but are a lot of those guys Hall of Famers, though? I don't think so.
There's a good amount of them, I think, are.
I think LaDainian Tomlinson, absolutely a Hall of Famer. Larry Johnson, Lito Shepherd of the Eagles, he's eligible. Let's see for any more names. Matt Light, Marion Barber.
Yeah, okay.
Kicker Neil Rackers. Ricky
All right,
Williams
yep.
is eligible for the Hall of Fame. TJ Houshmandzadeh, haven't said that name in a while.
Yeah.
And Vince Young. First ballot right there, right?
No.
Thank you.
He's not going to get in.
We're just going to scroll down the list here. Cam Newton is your NFL MVP, not surprising. Ron Rivera wins the Coach of the Year, also not surprising. J.J. Watt is the 2015 Defensive Player of the Year. Marcus Peters wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's the first Defensive Rookie of the Year the Chiefs have had since 1992. Eric Berry of the Kansas City Chiefs wins Comeback Player of the Year. He was diagnosed with cancer in 2014 and returned to play all 16 games during a Pro Bowl season in 2015. Cam Newton, Offensive Player of the Year. Todd Gurley of the LA Rams, he wins the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And that appears to be it. Now, moving on to the big story during the Super Bowl, before we get to the Super Bowl. Actually, first off, you know what? I'm going to mention the other news, and then we'll go back to the Super Bowl. First off, there's rumors going around that the Eagles may be interested in bringing back Nick Foles, which Louis DiBiase, if I try to stop talking so fast, wrote an excellent article on what the Eagles are doing at quarterback. It's over at BLTDsports.com. Check that out. But the other big piece of news this week, Buffalo Bills running back LaShawn McCoy was involved in an incident with off-duty police officers where two of them were apparently severely injured. It sounds like Thursday or Friday of this week. Like I said, it's the 10th of February at the time of the podcast, so by the time this comes out and you hear it, they may already be arrested, but there's a warrant going out for their arrest. Bad news for the Bills running back, who apparently doesn't know how to keep a cool head in public, and you know what? If he beat the crap out of those guys, he deserves the punishment that he gets. That's just my opinion, though.
I haven't looked into the whole story, so I don't know what set off the fight. I'd be curious to know.
Apparently, it was over a bottle of champagne.
Over a bottle of champagne?
That was what I saw, yeah. And then they beat the ever-loving piss out of two off-duty police officers who were security guards at the time.
Yeah, okay. All right. Champagne.
Oh, here's some news, too. Giants linebacker John Beeson retires. I just saw that on NFL.com. Really? Yep. There have been a few big cuts so far, but nothing too crazy.
Did Marshawn Lynch retire?
We'll talk about that. We will talk about that. That's actually the next story that I'm going to roll over to. During the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, of Super Bowl 50, Marshawn Lynch I think it was his brother or his cousin who runs the Twitter account, tweeted a photo with the deuces emoji, and it was a picture of his Seattle Seahawks cleats tied up and thrown over a telephone wire. And with that, Marshawn Lynch retired from the National Football League in the most Marshawn Lynch way possible. And
that's a true story.
He's just, the NFL is not going to be the same without him, I don't think. But he's been such a fantastic football player, and I'm actually getting his statistics up here. He's been a fantastic football player. It's going to suck to see him go, but it's one of those things we saw potentially happening as the season went on. He wasn't as effective as he was in previous years, but he's better off without the National Football League. I certainly think so.
Yeah, I mean, he was a interesting character throughout his time in football. So it'll be.
He was drafted first round, 12th overall in the 2007 NFL draft, obviously by the Buffalo Bills. 29 years old, he'll turn 30 in April. He didn't hit 10,000 yards in his career, but he was able to amass 10 seasons, 9,112 yards. If he was healthy this year, he would have hit 10,000 yards easily. But 74 touchdowns. Obviously he was great with the Bills. He had 2,765 rushing yards with the Bills, 6,374 with the Seahawks, 4.3 yards per carry. Receiving, he had 1,979 yards. Receiving 9 touchdowns in his career. I mean, yards from scrimmage, he had 11,091. I mean, he's been a fantastic, fantastic football player. Won a Super Bowl with Seattle. Went to a second Super Bowl with Seattle. Oh, it's kind of a changing of the guard in Seattle. I believe Thomas Rawls will take over running back if he's healthy. I know he got hurt this season, but do you think Marshawn Lynch can be a Hall of Famer?
I don't know.
I think with the impact that he had on Seattle and how he was part of the revitalization of football in Seattle, I think maybe you can take that into consideration. That he retired early, but he was still able to have a fantastic career. And I have another video talking in my ear, and it's really, really, really annoying. But he was able to have a very, 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 very solid career. And I don't see why he may not get into the Hall of Fame, but he definitely should get very strong consideration for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think he should be considered. I absolutely think he should be considered. I just don't know if his numbers are strong enough. Well, he did win a championship.
Well, I mean, you look at like what Terrell Davis did. Terrell Davis had 7,000 rushing yards, and he's going to make the Hall of Fame. So it might just be a thing where you see you see what he's done, and you go, hey, you know what? He's a Hall of Famer.
Terrell Davis only made 7,000 rushing yards?
That's what the website said to me. I'm going to double check, though. He only played from 95 to 2001.
Yeah, that's true.
But he was the workhorse on 2 Super Bowl winning teams, back-to-back Super Bowl winning teams.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Yeah, in his career, a six-round draft pick, 196 overall in the 1995 NFL Draft. Let me scroll down here and see what we have going on. Emmett. Okay, in his career, 78 games in his career, 7,067 rushing yards, one season where he rushed for 2,008 yards, 60 touchdowns in his career, 1,280 receiving yards, and he won 2 Super Bowls in 97 and 98, back-to-back. Retired in 2001 at age 29, so it was like Marshawn Lynch essentially too. He played 8 games, started 8 games, only rushed for 701 yards. But I mean, really, he did the bulk of his work in the first 4. So really, I mean, like looking at Terrell Davis, I got to be honest here. Like, I'm not sure why he might be a Hall of Famer. I mean, I'm thinking it's probably the fact that he rushed for 2,008 yards and had 21 touchdowns. When healthy, he was one of the greatest. I'm sure he would have had a absolutely Hall of Fame career if he wasn't ravaged by injuries. I mean, he played 4 games in 99, 5 games in 2000, 8 games in 2001, and then he retired. I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily think he's
chips, man.
I don't think he's a fantastic player. I mean, when he played, he was great. In 1998, he averaged 125.5 yards per game. I mean, come on. In the playoffs, he averaged that same year, he averaged 156 yards rushing a game in 3 games. I mean, that's ridiculous. But
yeah, I mean, if Davis is going to get in, then I guess Marshawn Lynch has a very good chance of also getting in. I think if he had won that second Super Bowl, it'd be solidified.
I mean, if he had won like an MVP in the Super Bowl, maybe he could be solidified as one of the greatest. But I don't know. I mean, I think he'll get in the Hall of Fame. It might take a while, but I think Marshawn Lynch is a Hall of Famer. With judging on statistics based on other people and how other people are getting in. I mean, in a day and age where passing is king, he still rushed for almost 10,000 yards. That's fantastic.
Right.
Where guys are throwing for 60, 70,000 yards on the average. I mean, we're at a point now where there may be a large amount of quarterbacks who retire and have thrown for 40, 50, 60,000 yards with ease. So I mean, it's something that it's becoming almost commonplace in the National Football League. And you get a guy who comes around and puts up 9,000, almost 10,000 yards in his rushing career in a passing league. I mean, that's something else.
Right.
But let's move over to the Super Bowl now. Super Bowl 50 took place last Sunday evening. Now, I paid attention to the game mostly because I was on Twitter and I was retweeting a lot of hilarious things I was seeing. But you know what? It's a time for you and I, Lewis, to pat ourselves right on the back as hard as we fucking can, because we did a fantastic, fantastic job with predicting the Super Bowl. We picked the wrong team badly, but we both said, I believe I said, you agreed, and we talked about it. Denver's defense, for Denver to win the game, Denver's defense would need to play absolutely flawless football, because Peyton Manning cannot carry this franchise to a Super Bowl victory with the health and the current status that he's at, which is true. Peyton was 13 for 23, 141 yards and an interception. Nothing to write home about. But defensively, you have a sack. Let's see, 1 sack, 3.5, 4, 5, 6, 7 sacks on Cam Newton, 1 interception, 4 forced fumbles. Absolutely fantastic, flawless football from that defense. I mean, there were no passing touchdowns. The only offensive touchdown came from a run late in the fourth quarter. But besides that, it was I just went blank there for a second. A Von Miller forced fumble that was returned for a touchdown, and a handful of field goals. That was it. That was the game for Denver. They did exactly what they needed to do. They shut down Cam Newton, who was 18 for 41, 265 yards, and like I said, a pick. No rushing game available at all. Newton had 6 for 45. Jonathan Stewart, 12 for 29. Forrest Whitaker, 4 for 26. Mike Tolbert, 5 for 18. The offensive line of Carolina had a hell of a time with DeMarcus Ware, with Derek Wolfe, with Von Miller. I mean, it was just an absolute slaughter out there. Not to mention the turf was pretty bad at Levi Stadium. I don't know if you caught the highlight of Jared Michael Orr, who was being bum rushed by a defensive end and just gets pushed back like he was on skates.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been an issue, and I'm sure it'll be an issue again if the 49ers get a Super Bowl in Santa Clara. But I mean, like we said, Denver defense played absolutely flawless, and that's what they needed to do to win. And Von Miller, oddly enough, the pick behind Cam Newton when they both were drafted, he was picked directly after Cam Newton's second overall pick. The Bills drafted third. They drafted Marcel Darius. But Von Miller won the MVP of the Super Bowl, and I'm excited about that because, well, Von Miller once sent me an autographed Von Miller jersey. So the worth of that jersey went up just a little more with that MVP Super Bowl performance. But enough about me. What did you think of the Super Bowl?
I thought it was boring. I thought it was a snooze fest. I thought, okay, you know what? I'm just going to let it all out there.
That's what we're here for.
So, second play of the game, there was a clear catch on the replays. The refs ruled it incomplete. So I made a tweet, something like, begins already, hashtag, the refs are going to get paid his second ring. My friend John, he put, oh, here comes the conspiracy theorist already. How about the refs have been bad all year? Yeah, that's true. The refs were bad all year. But here's the deal. So it was a catch. There is no way to say that wasn't a catch. Then, on the very next play, was one of the fumbles by Cam Newton. There was hands to the face and a face mask. That wasn't called. That caused them to fumble that ball. Now, I'm not taking away from anything from Denver's defense, but I think it was a combination. Oh, and in the second half, there was 8 penalties. 8 against the Panthers. Every time the Panthers started to get something going, there'll be a penalty. You know how many penalties were called on Denver in the second half?
How many?
0.
I did purposely try to study there for you, too, as well.
Goose egg. A big, fat nada. So,
well, I do see here that Carolina ended the game 12 penalties for 112 yards, Denver 6 for 51. But I think the big number here was the fact that I understand that the refs. That's why football turned me off. Like the dirty play and the shitty refs. I mean, that was just, for me, that was the end all be all. Plus the Bills are just garbage. I mean, when the Bills are in the playoffs, I'll watch. I promise you, I will watch because you'll have my interest.
Half. Right.
But here's the thing. It's something where, and sorry to cut you off, Louis, but it's something where, talk to Paul Wagner between the Bear and me, a big Panthers fan. He said the same exact thing we've been saying for the past 2 weeks. Carolina needs to get in a groove early. They need to get confidence on their side, and they need to spread that Denver defense out quick. Because just like the Carolina offense can roll downhill with confidence, the Denver defense can roll downhill with confidence. And once Denver knew they were in Cam Newton's head and the Carolina Panthers offense head, it was all over. I mean, Cam had no time in the pocket. The offensive line wasn't great, but certainly the calls did not help the flow of the game for Carolina. But it almost seems to me like once Carolina realized what they were up against, they started to kind of come unglued a little, and that's exactly what Denver wanted.
You know what? I don't know if that was the case. I think that it was a very poorly called game by Ron Rivera. They basically turned Cam Newton into Tom Brady. They made him a pocket passer. He very rarely had any plays where he scrambled out of the pocket. And the times that he did, he had success. I don't know why they didn't continue with that. I think a lot of the
problem is they had no time with the line because Denver.
I don't agree with you.
Let me just go with this here. Let me just go with this here real quick. With if you consider Von Miller a Hall of Famer, which right now Von Miller is on a Hall of Fame pace, Denver had 2 Hall of Famers rushing the passer and just completely obliterating that Carolina offensive line in DeMarcus Ware, in Von Miller, Super Bowl MVP Von Miller at this point. And the defensive line and the defensive ends of the Denver Broncos were just too powerful and too precise for that Carolina offensive line to stop them. Now, there were some plays, I agree with you, there were some times where if you had tried to bootleg or if you would try to design quarterback run or this or that, it would have worked for some yards. But like that one big play where Cam Newton was strip sacked, Von Miller strip sacked him, I believe it was the second time, and he didn't dive for the ball. He had someone downfield wide open, but the offensive line could not hold Von Miller back. And as Cam went back and cocked back to throw the ball deep for a wide open guy for a touchdown, Von Miller got to him. So I feel like if the offensive line was just a little better, this game certainly would have been a lot different, because it wasn't 24-10 for a while. It was 17-10. And I mean, there was a play, where Carolina gets downfield, they miss a field goal. Carolina gets downfield, and the ball gets turned over. I mean, there was a lot of things where a lot of momentum killers for the Carolina Panthers where just when you thought they were going to come back, momentum killed, back to Denver.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from Denver's defense. They played an awesome game. I just think the offensive play for Carolina was not as good as it should have been.
Well, they didn't change anything up. I mean, they didn't change. It was to the point where in the third and fourth quarter, they're still trying to run up the gut, and it's like, yo, have you been watching this game? You're not going anywhere, so you're just wasting a down.
Right. That's why I think it was a very poorly called game by Herrera.
But they'll learn from it. I mean, they're still a fantastic, fantastic football. They're young and they're great. I mean, they're if Denver didn't have that good of a defense, it would have been New England, Carolina in the Super Bowl, and we would have had a completely different game. But that Denver defense is historically good. I mean, they're one of the best we've seen in a long time. Yeah,
they were downright scary.
John Elway finally was able to do what John Elway tried to do a couple years ago when the Broncos played the Seahawks and they got stomped. He tried to do it back then. It didn't work. So what he did this time, went out and got bigger names and more talented players and said, take less to come play for us to win a Super Bowl, and it finally worked out. Congratulations. You did a great job. But that team is going to look so different next year. I mean, first off, Peyton Manning's owed, I think. He's owed, there's two numbers. I think it's $19 million and $21 million. One of them is if he stays, he gets paid. If he gets cut, the Broncos save that. And if he stays in the National Football League, I'm very certain Peyton Manning will be cut. I mean, he's coming off of his worst statistical season where hurt, and Gary Kubiak made a last-minute call week 17 to bring Peyton back in, where he so nicely threw for 69 yards in his last regular season football game. But, I mean, this season he only threw for 2,249 yards, 9 picks and 17 interceptions. He was not good at all in the regular season. I mean, his career stats look great. He's got 71,000 yards, almost 72,000 yards, 539 touchdowns, 251 picks. He'll go down statistically one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. But this last season has been absolutely horrible.
Horrible. Yeah, we've been saying it all season. He needs to retire.
I think that's the right thing. I mean, we said the Rams want him. You know what? Like,
it's stupid.
He played in 10 games this season. He was 7-2 when he played, yes, but he completed 59.8% of his passes, which is the worst in his career. The worst in his career, the second worst in his career. The first worst, his rookie season, where he completed 56.7% of his passes. The touchdown to interception ratio was the worst it has ever been in his career. I mean, he had, again, his rookie season, he had 4.9% interception percentage, but this year he had 5.1 compared to a 2.7 touchdown ratio, which was also the worst of his career. Yards per attempt were 6.8, which is the worst that he has had since his rookie year. The yards, let's see here what this one is. Yards gained for pass completion, that was the worst since it's been in 2010, which is the last year before he had his neck fixed. He only averaged 224.9 yards a game. His quarterback rating was an atrocious 67.9, which that's the worst of his career. His QBR was 44.96, which, since that's been a statistic, that is also the worst he's ever had. I mean, it's something where Peyton has just been absolutely horrible this season. And I mean, it's just not good to see, to see him hang on like this and continue his NFL career just to get stats. I mean, yeah, he won a Super Bowl. Congratulations. Now you can retire on top like you've always wanted to. Do what John Elway did. Walk out while you're the best in the world. But, like, you know, it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't, it's something where, you know, you need to know when to exit stage left. And 45 to 12 and 50 in 58 career games with the Denver Broncos, you know, 17,112 yards, 140 touchdowns. Here's a weird thing. The longest pass he ever completed in Indianapolis and in Denver, both 86 yards. That's really weird to me. But, I mean, it's just time for Peyton Manning to hang him up, I think.
I agree. It's time for him to hang him up. Time to ride off into the sunset.
That's Super Bowl 50 in the books. I mean, it's over. The Denver Broncos are Super Bowl champions. The Denver Broncos defense are the Super Bowl champions. Peyton Manning just kind of was just making sure that it didn't go anywhere. Just a time killer at this point.
So what did you think of the halftime show?
I thought Beyonce was fantastic. Beyonce slays, dude. Like, just absolutely is just the greatest. But I'm not a big fan of Coldplay.
What do you think of the quote unquote controversy caused by the halftime show?
I think white people are mad about dumb shit. That's the truth, man. Like, if that was a white guy in there protesting for something, boy, everybody would be like, "Oh, what a brave young man, what a brave young woman for standing up for what they believe in." But because she's African American, I mean, it's, you know, people say I pull that card a lot, but I'm like, it's the truth. If Macklemore was out there and if Macklemore was like, "Hey, listen to what I say because I'm Macklemore and I'm white and I'm powerful," everyone would be like, "Yeah, let's free the whales, man, because like that's what Macklemore said." But Beyonce comes out and she makes a good point. I mean, it's no secret that cops are killing African Americans at an astounding rate, and so she says something about it, and everyone gets butthurt. Like, come on, if she's making shit up, be mad. Don't be mad because she called you on your shit and you know she did. Like, don't do that. Don't be mad because she's right and you know you're wrong.
All right.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel about that.
Cool.
What do you think?
I think people are stupid. That's what I think.
Well, I mean, that's also very true. I want to further. Oh, you go. Sorry.
I think people want to make a controversy out of a non-controversy.
Absolutely.
You know, people were mad that they were dressed like the Black Panthers. Like, whoop-de-doo. There's people who were mad that her belts looked like Michael Jackson's belts when he did the Super Bowl halftime. Like, really? Stop yourself.
Yeah, just cut it out. Cut it out. So looking point of Marshawn Lynch being a Hall of Famer, just going back to what I was saying, because I finally got to the statistics here. Out of players who have played from 2000 on, 18 players in the history of football have thrown for 40,000 yards or more. Right now, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 18 players have played from 2000 on. You've got Peyton at 1 with 17,940. Drew Brees at 4 with 60,903. Tom Brady at 5 with 58,028. Eli Manning at 11 with 44,191. You've got Ben Roethlisberger at 13 with 42,995. Phil Rivers with 41,447. And Carson Palmer at 18 with 40,036. And I mean, you've got Romo at 34,154. You've got Matt Ryan at 32,757. Aaron Rodgers at 32,399. I mean, if Jay Cutler gets it together, he's at 31,408. So there's a lot of players right now who will throw for 40,000 or more yards in their career that played in this passing era. And I mean, you look at the running backs, for instance, like in the top, we'll go to the top 25 just for laughs here. Well, we'll do the top 20. I'm sorry, because there's not in the top 25. It doesn't add any more players. In the top 20, there are 3 players. Well, 4 players who have played from 2000 on in the top 20 of rushing. LaDainian Tomlinson, first ballot Hall of Famer, 13,684 yards, 5th all time. 15, Frank Gore at 12,040 rushing yards. AP, 11,675 yards. Steven Jackson, 11,438 yards. After that, nobody in our era, in this era from 2000 on, has rushed for 10,000 yards.
Interesting.
Chris Johnson, 33rd overall, 33rd all time, 9,442 yards. Marshawn Lynch, 36th, 9,112. Matt Forte, 8,602 yards. After that, you've got D'Angelo Williams at 7,753. He's 52nd overall. LaShawn McCoy, 7,608, 6,087. I apologize. 54th overall. Jamal Charles, 59th, 7,220 yards. I mean, it seems like the running back position is not as important as it once was because players retire at 30, 29, 30, 31. But you may see a guy like Marshawn Lynch get in the Hall of Fame with 9,000 yards because that is Hall of Fame territory. I mean, you look at the top 3, the top 4. Emmitt Smith played from 90 to 2004. Walter Payton, 75 to 87. Barry Sanders, 89 to 98. Curtis Martin, 95 to 2005. I mean, they played in a different era of football.
I agree. Yes, they did.
LaDainian Tomlinson will be the best running back we've seen in our era. He played 10 years, 13,000 yards. He'll be the best running back that we've seen in our era. I mean, maybe AP gets there, but he's 30 now. He plays for another 3 or 4 years, 1,500 yards. That's 6,000. I mean, maybe AP, if AP can get 1,500 yards, 4 more seasons, he may challenge Emmitt Smith for first overall. But AP is going to have to play late into his 30s to hit that point. But he's a physical specimen, as we've seen.
He is.
But that's the podcast. That's a good talk. That was a very good talk.
I agree with you. For not having much to talk about, we still went an hour 30.
I know. Tell me about it. We always do that. We need to do it more often where we say, hey, you know what? We don't have much to talk about, so we're just gonna talk about whatever, and then we go.
That's pretty much what happened.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 minute to midnight, and I mentioned that because Kanye West, his new album, The Life of Pablo, comes out at midnight, and you'd be goddamned if I'm not excited for this album to come out, because I know, Lewis, you have stated your thoughts about Mr. West on the podcast before, but so goddamn excited for some new Kanye West.
You know what?
What's up?
I'm not.
You what?
I'm not.
I figured. Hey, so here's a good quote from Kobe Bryant. What does Kobe dislike most about this farewell tour? From @BaxterHolmes on Twitter. Quote, that we suck. That's what makes Kobe so mad about the farewell tour.
That's hilarious. Listen. Kanye West, I'll say this. Musically, he tends to have really good beats.
Yeah.
But I can vibe with his music if they were strictly audio tracks with no vocals. They'd be awesome most of the time. He's not a good rapper. He can't sing. He tries to sing. It's horrible. The song that he dropped, No More Parties in L.A. with Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar's a beast. I like Kendrick Lamar. I didn't think the production quality of that song was real good. The vocals were just a little too loud, in my opinion. He thinks he's the greatest rapper of all time. He's literally said that he thinks he's the greatest rapper of all time. He doesn't even crack the top 10.
He's one of the greatest artists of my time that I'll ever see. That's for sure. I mean, he's one of the best out there. I don't think he's the greatest of all time, but he's done enough to put himself in that conversation at least.
Not even a little.
But you've lived a lot longer than I have. You lived through an era where hip hop and rap was the thing. I mean, you lived through NWA and stuff like that, where the rap I get today is crap. I mean, most of it's garbage.
Yeah, but I mean, you probably listen to. I don't know if you ever check out a lot of underground hip hop. There's a lot of phenomenal underground hip hop. I can't lie. There's a lot of unsigned individuals who are just fire. A lot of the signed stuff is pretty much garbage. But a lot of the unsigned guys are just fire. But, like, to me, like, I get it. I give Kanye props. Like, he almost lost his life, got into a huge accident. His mouth was wired shut for a while. And he came back and he's done what he's done. Like, good for you. Like, happy for you. But he takes himself so seriously. And I think that's really what bothers me about him.
That's because he's so confident. He's so confident in his ability to be the greatest rapper, the greatest artist of all time. That's what I like about him. I like the fact that he is so he believes so much in himself. I mean, yes, sometimes he can be very narcissistic and he can be very stupid, like
sometimes
tweeting out that Bill Cosby's innocent. Like, come on, dude, seriously, that's some bullshit right there. But he believes in himself so much, and that's what I like to get behind. Like when he was fighting with Wiz Khalifa, and he flat out was like, "I'm the greatest artist of all. I'm one of the greatest artists of all time. I'm the greatest of all time." Like that, having someone, I understand it sounds cocky. But the fact that he believes that much in himself, I'm like, yo, I'm down. That's dope.
And he got into a fight with Wiz Khalifa over a misunderstanding.
Yeah, but he still tore Wiz Khalifa the hell apart.
Oh, he did. He went in on Wiz Khalifa, and it was all over a misunderstanding.
Well, hey, I'll let you know how the album sounds once I listen to it.
Yeah, let me know. I mean, I've heard a couple tracks off of it. I ignored most of it. So, I just can't vibe with him. I just can't vibe with him.
I'm going to search the web right now.
The country. He said that he's thinking about leaving the country. Dude, I will help you pack.
Searching, and once I get the album, I will take a listen. I'll let you know what I come up with. But This here, ladies and gentlemen, has been Better Live Than Dead, episode number 78. Another successful episode, another great episode. A lot of conversation pieces on this podcast, which was good, which was very good. So, from here, I mean, I guess we go home. We leave the podcast. We go have a good night, listen to Kanye West, go to bed, whatever. But I'm Ryan Wolf at WolfBLTD on Twitter. On the line, as I mentioned at the start. Excuse me, Mr. Perez at MRLG Perez on Twitter. Excuse me. This is, and we are, Better Live Than Dead.
You're not.
I want to say again, thank you to every single person who has bought a BLTD t-shirt. They're coming out this week. You see the tweets on the internet going around. They're getting them. Everyone's happy with the product. We're going to be coming out with BLTD version 3.0, hopefully coming up in maybe April or May. We'll see what happens with that, with the design and all that stuff, and then the process of actually pre-ordering, getting the money, and actually making the product. Because the guys over at Crazy Dog T-Shirts hooked us up amazingly. CrazyDogT-shirts.com. Check them out. Check them on Twitter, Crazy Dog T-shirts. They're fantastic people. They're wonderful to work with. Their product is great. The shirts look fantastic. Lewis, next time you see John and you're at his house and if he's not wearing the shirt, ask him to check it out so you can see the quality of the actual shirt. It's fantastic for $10. I mean, people got a fantastic deal. I like to take care of people. What can I say? But we're working on that. Like I said, we've got a lot of good stuff coming up. Keep an eye on BLTDsports.com. The hockey trade deadline now in 18 days, as it's the 11th of February at this point in time. I will likely be in the press box for the Sabres games this weekend on Saturday or Friday and Sunday. Keep an eye on that one. Hopefully I don't get stuck in Buffalo because of snow because I have to work on Saturday and Monday. But we'll see. We'll see. But again, follow us at BLTD Sports on Twitter, Facebook.com/BLTD Podcast. Check out BLTDsports.com. Thanks to John and Dawn, as usual, for letting this podcast happen on the Gear Network. And again, I don't know about you, Lewis. I just want to say thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful evening. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you sometime soon.